Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, The Universe Listens. As a very young person, I always felt that I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, having to make grown-up decisions in order to survive a life marked with physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. While my face was smiling on the outside, on the inside, I always secretly cried and felt miserable. However, over the years, I learned some gems that helped to turn my life around. I now get to live the life of my dreams, filled with love, travel, and wonderment. And I am absolutely passionate about sharing what I have learned with you. If you want to live your best life, tune in each week as I, along with some amazing guests, share these life-changing gems with you. Inspired to be more, do more, have more. Greetings and welcome to today's episode of Speak, The Universe Listens. Today's topic is becoming aware of yourself. And today's guest is Trina Roberts, and Trina Roberts is the owner of Your Path to Wellness, and she's an herbalist, a herbal consultant, and she is a holistic coach. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about how you got interested in herbs and into the whole field of holistic healing.
It was an experience that I wasn't expecting. I was in a fast-paced career, one that was very demanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the doctor and took my blood pressure. And he said, I'm going to give you 15 minutes. Because if you don't get control of it, we have to take you to the doctor.
Wow.
My numbers were just that elevated.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, so 15 minutes set. And I kind of calmed down. And it went down just a little bit. And he wanted to know, what was I doing at this moment before I came to see him? And I told him I was at work. So he asked, what did I do? And I told him. He said, so you need to do something different, or you'll have a stroke in the middle of your job. So I kind of said, okay. So I went back to work and went into the office, and I said, okay, I'm researching. What do I need to do? Because I'm not going to get on a pill. I know there's something that I can do to take control of what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So did some research, and things just started coming about. Meditating, changing your diet. So I think that was my awakening to being in control of what was going on.
So did you realize that you were that stressed?
No, because I was in the moment. I was living the moment. So I think when you're in it, you don't realize it until someone points it out to you.
Right. Wow. So in hindsight, were there things that you feel like you should have noticed or you could have noticed?
Every now and then I had a headache. I felt my heart racing. But again, I'm in the moment. It's the life that I was living. So it was to be expected. So I just kind of brushed it off until the numbers kind of hit me. And I said, okay. So he said if I couldn't get it in control, then he was going to put me on pills. Well, you're not going to put me on some pills. So that's when I started kind of taking control and started doing the work.
Okay. And so what does the work look like?
So the work for me looked like books, reading, taking inventory of what I was eating. Because as I started doing the work, I realized that a lot of the foods that I was consuming kind of played into the life that I was living.
Right.
The work that I was doing played into how I took time out for myself, in which I never really took time out for myself. So the work for me was initially research and then owning it.
Right.
So I would kind of carve out little moments of the day where I would do some meditation. Didn't understand it, so really didn't work. So it became, I got a planner. And I reached out to my assistant. She ordered me a planner. And she was like, you don't need a planner, that's old school. I was like, this is what I need right now. So what I started doing is creating a to-do list. And so every day I would write down what I needed to do, because I realized I needed to own it instead of letting it own me. And when I started owning my day, I started feeling better. I felt more in control. And so I think that was my aha moment, that I can control some things. So that's where that shift kind of took place.
Well, awesome. And so what allowed you to, I guess, move so deeply into, because a lot of times, first of all, a lot of times we get these types of messages that, you know, your blood pressure is high, and a lot of us will just take the pill. And so the first question is, what made you say, no, not that route?
I think what kind of turned the tables is my mom got sick. She was diagnosed with breast cancer. So as I'm doing the research, recognizing food plays a lot into health, but lifestyles also play a lot into health. So I ran across a vegetarian. Well, this person was a vegan, but they kind of told me about the lifestyle, and they introduced me to this movie. And so I watched the movie, and I think that movie brought a little perspective to my life. And I think the thing that resonated with me the most is, we're a body, we are a vehicle. And so what we put in it will fuel us. What we put in it will stop us. And so at that moment I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna explore this vegetarian thing a little bit. But one of the factors that kind of supported that decision is that I have Chihuahuas. And so in the movie, they talked about people, they choose who they idolize. So like in this country, we love our dogs, we love our cats, we love our fish. But in other countries, they consume those same animals. So as I'm watching this documentary, my dog comes through, and I'm like, in another country, someone is eating my dog. So that was that, wait a minute, we need to think a little bit about what we're eating, because it is affecting us. And then that's when she started having her health issues. So I'm like, okay, so there's something that's happening that we can control if we take the time to control it. And from there, I just kind of dove in. Yeah.
And so what made you go the herbal route?
My mom.
Okay.
So she was a gardener, loved being in the dirt. And so I would go to her house, and she had all these herbal books all over the place. And she had one that was called Herbally Yours. And in this book, there was highlights, post-its, circles, pages earmarked for any and everything. And you would open up her cabinets, and there was teas, all kinds of teas. And so as I'm looking at her cabinets and I'm looking at what she's doing, I'm recognizing there's really some truth to this stuff. And so when I would go and visit, I would kind of go in her living room, and I would just sit there and read the books. And it just fascinated me. Never really understood why. And I think the pieces of the puzzle just started to come together. The books and my health hiccups, and then her situation. So I think that kind of fueled that passion to want to look deeper into herbs.
So that's all just so remarkable, because you never know which way life is going to take you. So I like the name of your company. Why did you name it Your Path to Living Well? Yeah.
So it started as Your Path To. Didn't really know where it was going. So my thought was, it's going to be Your Path To, and I was going to have a day where we would talk about Your Path To eating right, and then Your Path To meditating. So it was just Your Path To. And then a light bulb just went off. And it's about living well, just not being perfect, but just living well. And it's a journey. So it just became Your Path to Living Well. And it stuck. And along that path, you'll have hiccups, and you'll have roadblocks, and you might trip over a rock, but the concept is it's a path. And so that's where I landed.
Yeah. So what would you say would be a path for us to, I guess, first of all, become aware? Like, how do we start to become aware? So we don't want to go to the doctor and get that, you must stop now. What can we start doing to become aware?
Pay attention to yourself. So it really is sitting down and saying, why am I having a headache? Why is my heart racing? Why is it blurry for me to look, to see things? Why is my skin breaking out? It's the simple things that your body is telling you, but we're in the moment that we don't realize the moment. So that would be the first thing, is take inventory of yourself.
Yeah, I remember I literally worked around the clock, and I had a headache every single day of my life. And like you say, it was just so normal that I didn't even think, okay, something's wrong here. And so I remember waking up one day without a headache, and that's when I'm like, wow, I don't have a headache today. So that's kind of weird. That's like really things are flipped when you think it's weird to not
have a headache.
Be in pain, right?
That's your body's telling you something. Yeah.
So just being aware at an earlier stage. So paying attention to headaches and, like you say, breakouts on your skin.
The smallest things.
Yeah.
The smallest things. And then when you can recognize that there is an imbalance, then that next step would be, okay, when is this happening? How is it happening? What have I eaten or what have I not eaten? Ideally, what have I drunk? So it's about water. And I think a lot of moments in life we're busy, and something as simple as water we don't consume. So when I look back on where I was at that moment, I wasn't consuming a lot of water because I was always on the go. So I needed that caffeine. I needed something to keep me going. So I think it's little steps, but ideally recognizing, hey, something's not right. Let me kind of back up and see what could have caused this to happen.
And I'm glad you mentioned caffeine, because caffeine actually scares me. Not because I actually own a coffee shop, so it's kind of good for me that people drink coffee. But people just are so addicted to it.
So coffee, for some people, is okay. But I think we have gotten to the point where we're over consuming it. And so if you have just a little bit to kind of pep you up and get you going, it's okay. But it's now I'm drinking the 30 ounces of coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're not consuming anything else. And so you now have all of this flowing through you, and there's no water to help flush it out. And it's causing everything else in your system to kind of get off track. But we're not thinking about it. So a little bit for most people is okay. When I wake up, I have a cup of coffee, but I have a cup of coffee. I have water first. I have my coffee, and then I'll follow up with water because I know I need to flush this coffee out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't perceive really any problem with people feeling like I need the coffee?
I don't see a problem with it per se, because a little bit, again, is okay. Where I see the concern is where you wake up and you're drinking coffee, and then 2 hours later you're drinking coffee, and then 4 hours later you're back on coffee, but you're not consuming anything else. So then I want to know, where's this coffee craving coming from? Is it that you're looking for energy? Because then we need to really assess everything else that's going on in your life to give you the energy that you need so that you can back up off the coffee. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So don't be afraid of it. It's good to have. It tastes good. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are there other things that people need to be aware of?
I would say what you think. So I would say in today's world, we're inundated with information, and we don't take time to really think about I think life, we are thinking about getting to that next moment. And when we think about getting to that next moment, then that affects our ability to think about the right now. And so now we still have that adrenaline going. That rush is going because we're trying to get to that next step. So I would say taking a moment to just pause and look at where you are, breathe the air that you're breathing, feel the coldness that may be around you. Because if we can at least take 2 to 3 minutes to just stop and experience it, everything can kind of start to settle down internally, and it kind of resets the clock so that you can continue to that next venture and not be so stressed or overwhelmed or living in the moment.
Right. So when you say feel the coldness, what do you mean?
So literally feeling the coldness. So if you're walking outside, sometimes we're walking outside and we're rushing and we don't recognize it. And when we're not taking a moment to literally feel the coldness or smell the rose or taste the coffee, we're rushing through it, then we don't really get a chance to experience it. And to me, that could be a form of meditation, but it's being mindful, just really being mindful of what you're experiencing in that moment.
And it's so funny that you said about taking the time to just notice things, because when I was around the clock 24/7, I really didn't notice anything. And I remember when I went to Barbados, and I saw the sunrise, and then I saw the sunset, and then I saw the moon rise, and the moon set, and the stars. And I was like, do we have this in Richmond? Do we have sunsets and sunrises and moon? Like, I had never seen it. Yeah. It's like, and I honestly, I know that, there are buildings that block, and we're in there. It's just like a lot of space that you can see. But literally now I see the sunrise and I see the sunset, and now I see the moon rise and set. But I don't think I had ever seen it because I was just
in the moment.
Right.
And when you think back to that, how did you feel? So you felt great. You felt relaxed. You felt connected. And your body appreciated it. And so the reason why you look for it now, or why you really see it now, is because you remember how you felt. And your body is like, I need to see the sunrise. I need to see the sunset. Yeah. So you woke up to realize, hey, something's not right. And it's just the simplest things. It's the simplest things.
And it was so funny because when I was gone for a while, and then when I came back, I was interviewing someone who was from New York, and they had moved to Virginia. And so he was like, in Virginia, you have sunrises and sunsets. And I was just like, really? You see that here? I never saw it here. Yeah. But it's just amazing how, I guess, like you're saying, becoming aware, slowing down, because like his life was a fast-paced life, and then for him to come to Virginia, he felt like he slowed
down.
Yeah,
slowed down. Yeah, and even in Virginians, we are now in that busyness. We wake up, we're busy. We go to sleep, we're busy. But then if I was to ask, well, how did you sleep last night? Well, I couldn't sleep because I was busy.
Right.
So you have now wired yourself to always be busy, and it truly affects your ability body-wise to take care of itself, because it's always on alert. It's always trying to answer that I got to go here, I got to do this. And so being aware, it really is about when you wake up in the morning, don't pick up the phone. When you wake up in the morning, have your water, have your moment. If the house is quiet, enjoy it. You don't need the TV. You don't need the things to get your brain going. Give your brain time to recognize that it's just woke up.
Right. Yes, I really appreciate this conversation on
Thank you.
becoming
Appreciate
aware.
it as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you're going to join us again next week?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thank you.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of becoming aware of yourself. So remember some of the techniques that Trina shared. And also, do you want to let them know how they can reach you?
Absolutely. So I have a Facebook page. It's Your Path to Living Well. I have a website. Is yourpathtolivingwell.com. I'm located in Petersburg, but if you Google Your Path to Living Well, you'll get right to me. And then I also have an IG page. The name is the same, Your Path to Living Well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, until next time, this is Arvette. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.